Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Monday night. We're happy to have you in on July 8th for this episode of the Prime Time program. Lovely to see you all. Lovely to have you all. Hopefully you can hear me a little clearer than you could yesterday. We had some technical difficulties to work through, but the show must go on, and so we too shall soldier on. Your safety position is still incomplete, but the one that you have is pretty happy about the free agents that you've added. And so we will talk about that together. Ammani Hooker giving some comments to the team website to that effect. We will also talk about the upgrades in total, not just personnel-wise, but coaching, and see who is the more important ad, the more impactful ad that the Titans have made to that secondary group. We will work our way through that, and then we will get to In Case You Missed It with Robert Walsh. Bert hasn't done one of these in at least a month and a half, so I'm sure it will be high quality, high effort, high energy, and fully clothed. I'm sure all of those things will come to fruition by the time we get to the end of the show. But as is the custom, before we get to the end of the show, we have to start the show. Before we start the show, you got to share the show on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. If you're hanging out on Twitter, please retweet it in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you're on Facebook Live, you can share now to public. That is in the bottom left. And if you view us on YouTube or Twitch, please subscribe to the channel. And while you're there, throw a like on the video. We are always grateful to you when you do all of those things for us. And with that being said, we can go ahead and get it rolling. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Zen Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising. I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by the wonderful people at Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer, Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet, or online at tworiversford.com for more information. TrueMav Fitness in the Gulch, where your first workout is free as a Middle Tennessee resident. No workout ever recycled or repeated. Just go to the fine folks at TrueMav, and they will put you in position to succeed. Of course, Zen Sports Studios means the Zen Sports app is the only place that you need to go to wager on all your favorite major sports. Download the app, plug in the promo code ATOZTN, and unlock all the great odds boosts and promo bets that Zen Sports has to offer. So Ammani Hooker gave some comments to the team's website, and it's from back in the offseason program. Jim Wyatt does this well, does this smartly, asks a bunch of questions throughout the course of the press conferences, and basically banks them for articles that he can release throughout the course of the dead period, which is what we are smack dab in the middle of. We still have more than 2 weeks before the Titans officially report for training camp, so there will be no new news in between then. But in terms of new, there is a lot of newness all around Safety Amani Hooker, and that is where the Jim Wyatt article comes from. So understanding that the Titans did a lot of upgrading of their secondary, it's not just the personnel that they have upgraded. It is also, or at least that they have changed out. They have definitely upgraded the personnel. Whether they have upgraded the coaching staff or not remains to be seen, though I know Titans fans are optimistic about Brian Callahan, and more specifically optimistic about defensive coordinator Denard Wilson. So Ammani Hooker has a new head coach for the first time in his pro career. He's got a new defensive coordinator, I want to say for the first time in his pro career. Shane Bowen, I'm trying to think. Was Dean Pease here when they drafted Ammani Hooker? Yes, I believe so. Because Ammani Hooker was part of that 2019 draft class. So I guess, yeah, Dean Pease was on that coaching staff. So he has had some turnover with his defensive coordinator. And this year, again, he has a new safeties coach. So looking at the Titans and all the work that they've done around not just their roster in general, but around Ammani Hooker, it's a lot of newness heading into the sixth season. And he gave some pretty interesting quotes that I think the audience is going to enjoy, especially talking about this secondary. First, we'll start with your Two Rivers Ford take, because Ammani Hooker is, of course, a safety, but the upgrades that they have made to date, it's not completely done that they can't add safety help, additional safety help, but so far it's just been strictly at corner. Given the Titans signing and trade acquisitions at the corner spot, which Titans cornerback will have the better season, Chidobe Awuzie or L'Jarius Sneed? We'll talk about it together on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. It's your Two Rivers Ford take. As always, it's presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. Get that quality American-made Ford vehicle and award-winning customer service that you have come to know from Two Rivers Ford for over 40 years being in business in Middle Tennessee. The South's most trusted Ford dealer and the best new and certified pre-owned vehicles are all available to you at Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. Head there for more information. So it seems like it should be a pretty easy answer. Who will have the better season between L'Jarius Sneed and Chidobe Awuzie? I think that when you look at Sneed, who was an all-pro snub last year, L'Jarius Sneed should have been an all-pro corner, and I have his statistics to go through, courtesy of Pro Football Focus, kind of giving you an idea of just how good this player was for the Kansas City Chiefs last year. L'Jarius Sneed, who comes over via trade to the Tennessee Titans to immediately fortify their secondary, who was drafted in the COVID season as a fourth-round pick out of La Tech, and who has gone on to be a two-time defending Super Bowl champion with the Kansas City Chiefs. Now he is getting a lot of the defensive burden placed on him to try and help right the ship here in Tennessee. Last year, he was truly excellent. He appeared in each of the Kansas City Chiefs games that they played in, with them going 21 weeks with the wild card, with the divisional playoff game, with the conference championship and the Super Bowl. L'Jarius Sneed was a part of their campaign, available in each and every game that they played, save the Week 10 bye that the Kansas City Chiefs obviously had between Philadelphia and Miami. Sneed was available to play in each and every game. Now, we know that his situation has been managed, but still, he was excellent. He had not just a great year as a cover corner, but he was also very effective as a tackler. He was useful in Steve Spagnuolo's defense in helping to generate additional pressures when necessary. But for the most part, he was their guy that you could leave alone on an island and he would take care of business. So to put him up against Chidobe Awuzie, who's coming off a solid year for the Cincinnati Bengals, but not the kind of all-pro caliber year that we're talking about with L'Jarius Sneed, I feel like you guys might hear the question and say, well, that's absolutely stupid. How would Awuzie outperform Sneed if Sneed is clearly and obviously, or has been in his career, clearly and obviously the better player? B. French says, is Sneed the number one cornerback? Well, that's the discussion that we're having. And here's why I think that it's worth having the discussion anyway, even as I acknowledge that Sneed has been the better player throughout the course of his career. It is really, really difficult to play corner at a consistently high level, not just because the position itself is the most difficult, I believe, in the NFL. Quarterback is obviously more important. Quarterback comes with a degree of difficulty that really you cannot measure against the other positions. But if you remove cornerback from the conversation, I would argue that the second hardest play or position to play in football is cornerback. Chris Young says, did Woozy, is that what you're calling Woozy, get benched last year, middle of the season? No, he didn't get benched. He missed a little time due to injury. They did not give him a 3-year deal with all kinds of guaranteed money because or after he got benched. That's incorrect. So I think you're misinformed on those numbers. But yes, I would answer the question by saying Sneed should be the number one cornerback if everything goes to plan. But rarely do those things carry over as consistently as you'd like them to year over year. So I do think that there's room for some discussion. Now, will L'Jarius Sneed ultimately end up being the better player? I would imagine so. But for Ammani Hooker, he's just happy to have them all have that level of improvement around him on all sides, including Awuzie, including L'Jarius Sneed, to pair with Roger McCreary, who is a solid, we'll see if he can be an above-average nickel corner. This is Ammani Hooker during the offseason program, speaking with assembled media.
Is this defense so far in the early stages from what you guys have run over the last 4 or 5 years?
I'll just say it's, a lot more, aggressive. That's kind of what the theme was coming in before we even got Coach Denard here. And so far, that's what it's been. It's been aggressive, but also, there's times when you can be aggressive and times when not to. And, our coaches are doing a good job of teaching that.
How do you like working? You talk about aggressive.
Yeah. Just watching him, what they did at the Ravens this past year. They were very successful as a defense, especially in the back end. One of my good friends of Geno Stone, who I played with, he talked and raved about his experience with Denard this past year. So far it's been amazing.
Group of receivers has been assembled here, and maybe how much should that help the defense as competing against these guys?
We got guys that are professionals, been in the league, and made plays for their respective teams that they've been on. It's just going to help us out. You got Tyler Boyd, Calvin, D-Hop, and then Traylon out there. Those are some tough receivers to line up against day in and day out.
Something different having a secondary guy as a defensive coordinator. A little different for you on how much you're looking forward to maybe what his expertise is.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the knowledge that he has of the game. He played the game. He has experience of coaching and playing. Same with Coach Harris and Coach Jackson. I got 3D guys that played, professional football in the similar position I was in at a high level, and now they're able to coach it, which makes a lot of guys in the room feel good about what they're saying.
You stepped up a lot as a leader on the defense last year. How do you describe the level of ownership you take as everyone's kind of learning and moving through OTAs here?
Yeah, it's all about accountability with me as well. This is all new for me. It's new style, new defense, new scheme. So, just like everyone else is learning, I'm doing the same thing. But my job is to make sure that everyone, learns at a progressive level and that we're doing it together as a unit.
If you look back at your 2023, what you like? Maybe what are some areas you think you got to improve on?
I think improving on just having ball disruption, getting my hands on the ball, whether that's interceptions, pass breakups, forced fumbles, but overall just, being the best overall safety I can be. I know I have a long road to get there, and I know that my capabilities are there, and I just have to, improve this off season and help my guys around me, and they'll help me.
Have you heard from KB about the Week 1 matchup already?
I haven't heard from KB. I saw his tweet, but, he already knows. Right when he saw it, we probably thinking the same thing, so nothing needs to be said.
In terms of the secondary as a whole, what do you think about the additions with the 2 corners and just overall how that makes that whole entire back?
Yeah, we got 2 dogs. You got Cheeto and Sneed out there. I can't wait to go full speed with them with the pads on. But I've been watching them make plays for the other team against us, and so I'm excited that they're on our team now, and it's going to be really fun to be spinning back there.
You mentioned that Weddle had the green dot once upon a time. You heard from you pretty quickly about your desire to have the green dot and ask him what you could do to get it. What did he tell you about that? How much would you like to have?
Whatever I can do to help the team win. I'm just a competitive guy. I feel like if I'm out there, I'm the quarterback of the defense. Even if I have the green dot or not, I'm gonna be communicating, and leading the defense the best I can. So, if it happens, it doesn't. I'm gonna still be the same me.
So that's Ammani Hooker speaking with assembled media a couple of weeks ago during the offseason program. A to Z Sports Primetime is presented by TrueMap Fitness in the Gulch. Get your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident. No workout ever recycled or repeated. That is what TrueMap Fitness offers you. I can't wait to get back to TrueMap. I know Worth has been out of town for a wedding in Italy, so I haven't made my personal training sessions in the last couple of weeks. But this Friday, I'm going to be back in the gym for Arm Farm Friday. You will enjoy the TrueMap experience. And like I said, you get your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident. All you have to do is mention A to Z Sports when you go to TrueMapFitness.com for more information. They'll get you on the right track. So that's Ammani Hooker talking about how the additions of 2 playmakers like Sneed and Awuzie are going to help get this Titans defense back on track. Jonathan Caverly says Austin got visibly mad when I asked that question. LOL, I don't know why. Seems like, I'm not sure what question he is specifically referencing. I think I just saw a random comment and decided to read it Ron Burgundy style. So forgive me, Jonathan. I'm just put you up there out of context. I'm not quite sure what that discussion is. Although, I'm sure whatever Austin got visibly upset about. Oh, if Farley can play safety. So let's stick with this logic for now. Awuzie and L'Jarius Sneed and Roger McCreary are going to be your 3 starting corners. I think that when you look at Caleb Farley and his role, Jarvis Brownlee Jr. is probably going to be the 4th corner in that rotation. Caleb Farley's skill set, I don't know that there's any reason he can't, and I don't know that they've specifically asked him or asked the coaching staff if that's on the table, but it's really not been discussed. I haven't heard anything like that, so I without more information, unless Austin has asked the question and I've just missed it, I don't think there's any plan to play him there at this point or to move positions. I think he's best suited for corner as opposed to safety. And if he ends up being the 5th corner on the roster and a special teams player primarily, well, then that's because that's the best place that Caleb Farley can help them. Jonathan Caverly says, that's what I do on Madden. Well, that's probably why he got pissed. Nobody gives a shit about Madden when we're talking about actual football. I wish that I could do away with the video game and fantasy football analysis in the middle of actual football discussion. So if you mentioned that, that's probably why he got upset with you, because you know what, if you brought that to my attention and said, that's what I do on Madden, then I'd probably get upset with you too. But Ammani Hooker is in an interesting situation because right now Elijah Molden is the starting safety alongside him. This is the time of year, by the way, now that the coaches and the front office personnel will start to trickle back into the building this week after the July 4th holiday, with still several weeks to go before the players actually get into the building. Here on the 23rd is when everybody will report. It makes the most sense to continue to explore viable options at the safety position, whether that ends up being Justin Simmons or an additional veteran safety to help. But there's no question that they are going to benefit from having Sneed and Awuzie on the roster. Max Augsburger of Caleb Farley says he's got the physical attributes you look for in a safety. He's a better athlete than Molden. Well, that's not true anymore. In fact, he's said as much. Caleb Farley, and perhaps you missed this, Max, and that's okay if you did. I understand why you would think that. The former first-round pick, Caleb Farley, who was renowned specifically for his athleticism, no longer being a better athlete than Elijah Molden is something that he has put his own name on, Caleb Farley, when he's talked about this, because of the state of his body. His body has failed him significantly. He said, and I'm paraphrasing here, so don't quote me on this exactly, but to some effect, will I ever be the same kind of athlete that I was? Probably not. That's straight out of Caleb Farley's mouth. So there's a reason that Elijah Molden is in the position that he's in as opposed to Caleb Farley, not just because of the health, but because right now Elijah Molden is the better player at the safety position. If you tried to have now, I don't know. Farley, I don't think has ever practiced at safety. So, I don't know that couldn't change or something like that. But what I can tell you is that 2 coaching staffs have now not had it in their consideration to play this player at safety. I'm not going to completely defer to them and take it off the table for just that reason. But I do think that it's pretty telling that not just Mike Vrabel's coaching staff, but also Brian Callahan's coaching staff, which is almost entirely turned over, has looked at the situation and said, yeah, he's probably best as a special team player at most right now and a reserve corner for the time being. A to Z Sports Primetime is made possible by the wonderful people at Zen Sports. Download the app, plug in the promo code ATOZTN, get up to $100 on your no danger first wager. Baseball is still available for you to bet on, but anytime you are in the sports calendar, you can always bet on all your favorite major sports at zensports.com. Plug in the promo code ATOZTN. Terms and conditions do apply. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789. Must be 21 plus and in the state of Tennessee to bet. So Ammani Hooker, provided he stay healthy, is a really good player at the safety position. And when Byard and Ammani Hooker were both healthy and available together, they were one of the best safety tandems in the league. They haven't found a viable Kevin Byard replacement to date, but right now that's Elijah Molden's job to lose. We'll see if he plays himself out of it in training camp. We'll see if they don't feel it necessary to continue to add. But there's no question that the safety position will be helped by having additional corners, better corners there to play, and corners who are capable and coached to play press coverage in ways that the Titans corners, just for the life of me, I could not figure out why they continued to play off as often as they did. So let us then move to the second topic of discussion this evening on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, if you are so inclined. Which Titans free agent benefits the secondary most? So we asked you which player, which corner that they've added will have the better season. And I think that when you talk about free agent additions, let's almost broaden it out. Let's not make it just free agents. Let's talk about Titans additions that will benefit the secondary most in the comment section. It can be a player, it can be a coach, it can be whatever you want it to be, as long as it fits the category of helping the secondary most. We will dive into that, and you'll hear from some of the people involved with your team on this live stream. Randy Cherry says Hooker will be better. Roger McCreary will be our secret weapon. I don't know how a nickel corner could necessarily be a secret weapon, but I say that, and then I remember Logan Ryan playing a good bit of nickel slot and being a really effective player as a rusher that I did not anticipate in that season with Dean Pease, having one of the more viable pass rush options from your secondary come out of the slot, and how much better that made the defense, or how much more versatile that made the defense. I guess you could consider that a bit of a secret weapon if you had to put it that way. But I don't think that, and there's nothing really secret about the way that they're going to use Roger McCreary. He's definitely a physical, hard-nosed corner who can muck it up in there around the line of scrimmage, who can get after the passer if need be, who is solid in coverage, and who is better suited inside than he is on the outside. Chris Harris coming back for year 2 to coach defensive backs, says Amar. So not an addition, but a retention for Amar, he says, is going to be the best add. Jonathan Caverly says it still has to be Snead. I agree that it probably has to be Snead. Although I'm willing to hear the argument for Denard Wilson for exactly the reason that I just heard Ammani Hooker talk all about how much better Denard Wilson can make your secondary as a former secondary coach himself. So, but Denard Wilson is probably, I mean, you can't have as good a defense under Denard Wilson without L'Jarius Sneed. So while I like the answer of Denard Wilson, I'm probably still going to say L'Jarius Sneed as my answer.
The trade and signing of Snead moved the needle for you this year. I mean, that seems to be a very large piece to this equation.
Yeah, I mean, it helps us tremendously out from a coverage standpoint on the back end. And, you know, if you guys know Denard and what he wants to do, I think the guys that we signed in Cheeto and LJ, I think they both, you know, fit what he wants to do from a coverage standpoint. And then having Roger here. You know, Roger's played outside, he's played inside, and so he fits as well. So it gives us, you know, a legitimate, you know, top 3 out of the gate, and we're going to continue to add guys. We're going to expect guys that were here last year to step up, you know, and earn those other spots. But we're bringing in scheme fits for what we're going to do defensively.
Bringing in scheme fits for what we want to do defensively. That's Rand Carthon immediately after L'Jarius Sneed was introduced. Now, you might be able to convince me that if Tavondre Sweat works out, that he will also help benefit the secondary, the interior pass rush that him and Jeff will create, how much that eases the burden across the line, or how much that should ease the burden across the line. I might be willing to hear that argument depending on how Tavondre Sweat pans out. To date, he hasn't panned out. We still await any level of impact that he's able to have because he went basically the entire offseason without practicing. So I'm probably going to rule him out for the purposes of this conversation, but I would be willing to revisit that discussion later on in the season if he proves himself to be a viable player. Puka makes a good point and says, do you get Snead without Denard Wilson? Because, of course, they did put together their staff and then traded with the Chiefs for L'Jarius Sneed. I don't know the answer to that question, Puka. I I'm willing to say yes, that they do, because it's not like he had a no trade clause to dictate his terms as to where he got traded. Now, ultimately, he has to agree to the contract extension with Tennessee. So I'm inclined to say that they could have gotten him with Denard Wilson. Now, we'll never know the answer to that question because they had both. Aubrey Calvin says, no, you don't. Again, I don't know that he doesn't have any leverage as a player that they traded for to say no to a trade in that circumstance. Now, again, he didn't have to agree to the contract extension, and I know that he likes Denard Wilson a lot, but I don't think that you can definitively say that you don't get L'Jarius Sneed without Denard Wilson when the deal was a trade for a player that didn't have a no trade clause in his contract and couldn't control his landing spot, couldn't really control his landing spot the way that, a free agent might, for example. Because I know there are players who are excited to play for Denard Wilson. And L'Jarius Sneed is probably one of those too. But, I assume they could have gotten him via trade without Denard Wilson as the defensive coordinator. Let's see. Major Key says, I know this was your yesterday show. He says, so you think Sweat will pan out? I have no idea if Tavondre. Will Sweat pan out? I can't even begin to answer that question, honestly. God, dude doesn't practice to date. Now, it could be a completely different story by the time training camp gets here. It could be a non-issue, a non-factor, and it could be a bunch of hand-wringing and pearl clutching for nothing. But, I don't know. You drafted a player in the second round who there were other defensive linemen who could probably have done as good a job as Tavondre Sweat could have, even though I acknowledge he's a highly talented player, but you could have gotten a defensive lineman without the red flags that Sweat has, and they chose to trust their vetting process and take Tavondre Sweat. Will he pan out? I have no idea. Again, the player doesn't practice, so I don't know. I don't know. I can't answer that question definitively. Do I think he will pan out or not? My answer on him just in any facet is incomplete. The grade on him in any facet is incomplete because he has not participated in but one rookie minicamp practice. And that was damn near 2 months ago. So we'll see what kind of shape he comes back in. We'll see if we see him at all at the start of training camp. Billy Sullivan says, what is it holding him back from practicing? All we know is it's an injury that they decided to play it safe on. I don't know the nature of the injury. I was not able to discern that, or at least I have not yet been able to discern that. And they were not willing to disclose that. They don't have to put out an injury report. So he is injured, but the nature of the injury is an unknown right now. If we ever get the opportunity to talk to him again, and at some point we will, but whenever that is, I'm sure that question will be answered, or I'm sure that question will be answered to an extent. Speaking of answering questions, it is now Bert's time to do the heavy lifting, so we will pivot to, in case you missed it, we'll see what he has brought us from the dark depths of the internet for us to either laugh at or be made sad by. We will do that right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by the wonderful people at the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. The official real estate agent of the Nashville Predators is Gary Ashton. Don't sell without the intel. Go to GaryAshton.com for more information. All right, Bert, what do you got?
What's up, Stanky Booty?
How are you?
I could be better. I could be doing anything but this.
Shut up and do your segment.
July 4th, over the weekend, lots of fun. I hope everyone out there was safe. You didn't, as Buck has eloquently put, someone losing their digits, JPPing yourself. Yes, a man losing 3 of his fingers is a hilarious joke, Buck. But as you'll see, all of my fingers and digits are here. I'd put my toes on camera, but you have to subscribe to my Only Berts for that. But my favorite thing over the weekend.
A lot of that OnlyFans stuff going around these days on the football internet, Bert. You better be careful. You got some stiff competition, no pun intended.
Talking about old BJ Stroud? Or, excuse me. Anyway, July 4th, hot dog eating contest. Plenty of things to do, but my favorite to do is fireworks. And you guys probably had an incredible firework display at Nissan this weekend. I wasn't here. I only saw pictures and videos from about 100,000 of you guys about it. But I'll do a little history lesson for you guys. Do you know who invented fireworks?
No.
The Chinese. Very advanced people. They did that years and years and years ago. Do you know what the largest fireworks explosion of all time is?
No.
California, 2012, when they accidentally set off 7,000 fireworks at one time.
This is insane.
This is the best fireworks show ever.
You know, there was some dumbass like, this is the finale. It just started, David.
Did you not hear that woman in the background? This is the best fireworks show ever. What?
R.I.P. to the podcast listeners.
Oh my God! Yeah, we apologize. I guess not in advance, but retroactively to the podcast listeners because that was just blaring sound in your ear.
1 second, you're getting fun firework facts. The next. I don't know what I'd do if that. I would probably be overstimulated and be like that. If you watch the kids there, they're like running around, like they don't know what to do with their hands. Like,
what are you going to do in that situation? I'm probably. It looks like a mushroom cloud. Like I would run. I don't.
Someone definitely got fired for that. 7,000 fireworks. How much money did the city spend just for that? To blow their firework load in fucking 3 minutes. Just all of it.
All of it.
It doesn't get much better than that. We bought some Hoosker Do's, some Hoosker Don'ts, cattails, all the good fireworks over the weekend.
So you actually shot off fireworks this weekend?
I did, and we were safe. We shot them out of a cinder block, and they were held in place with rocks, so nothing could go wrong until we came across the road, shot them off in the front yard. The wind blew it over towards my nephew. The good thing is he's a hellion, so he probably deserved it. It was fun to watch him run around like, ah! I don't think he was burnt that badly.
Do you know I didn't even see a firework this year? It's a long story. I basically drove 500 miles on July 4th for reasons that are beyond me and inexplicable, but had to be done. So I did not see a single solitary firework on the 4th of July this year.
Well, let me fix that.